let's get started on health care. Over the weekend, as a lot of you know, we started a debate in the Senate. They wound up getting all 60 members of the Democratic caucus, the 58 Democrats and the 2 independents, to get past the Republican filibuster to at least begin the debate. Okay, congratulations. And the real question, of course, is whether we're going to be able to end the debate. And that's going to come up in a couple of weeks. And at that point, there are 4 critical senators, it appears now, based on the latest news that we have, that might join the Republicans and filibuster it so that there is no bill. They are Blanche Lincoln of Arkansas, Mary Landrieu of Louisiana, Ben Nelson of Nebraska, and Joe Lieberman of Connecticut. They say they are not in favor of the public option and that is one of their main sticking points. Although Joe Lieberman has said on many occasions that he plans to, just getting rid of the public option is not enough for him, and that it appears he's going to join the Republican filibuster, perhaps under not all circumstances, but many of the circumstances that have been presented. So that's a real sticky problem for him, for Harry Reid, who's, of course, the Senate Majority Leader. Now, how are they going to get beyond this is the question at hand. And people who are in the progressive sphere, like Howard Dean, who's very much, I would say, the leader of that side of the spectrum, have come out and said, you know what? We got to go to reconciliation, because he's under the impression, and this is a very important impression, that they are not going to be able to get those 4 senators if they still have the public option in there. Schumer and Carper and some of the others are still negotiating with those senators, but what Dean is afraid of, what a lot of progressive activists are afraid of, is that in order to appease just those 4 senators, that they're going to give away the public option. Now, Dean makes a very strong case against that. We've got some clips for you guys that we want to show you. He's on Dylan Radigan's show. It's clip number 6. And I think he says a number of things here that are very, very important and indicative of where the debate stands. So let's watch.
The biggest time bomb in the short run is the public option. Without a public option, basically the activists in the Democratic Party sit on their hands in 2010. Obama's not on the ballot. There's no reason to go out and vote for a Democratic congressman or give him any money if they can't pass a health care bill that's worth anything. And so that's a huge problem for the Democrats if it's not in there. And it looks like, of course, a few of the folks aren't going to let it in there. The deficit is a big problem in the longer term. People are going to expect this to be paid for. The biggest problem is one that's not on the list. I think you've got to have people that actually have insurance by the election time of 2010, because if you don't, all the rumors and the death panels and the rationing and the you can't see your own doctor, it's going to be all thrown up at election time, and it's going to be a he said, she said. One of the things I discovered in my career in politics is if you want to dispel rumors and fears and stop fear-mongering, actually get the bills done and get some people insured. And the best way to do that is to have a public option and make it be Medicare with obviously some payment adjustments, and let some people under 65 into Medicare. It's the only way you can get this thing up and running by 2010. Let some people under 65 get into Medicare starting, say, June 1st of 2010, after the president signs the bill. All the rumors go away.
At what point, Dr. Dean, do we have to acknowledge that our political process is not equipped to solve this problem? That problems like this simply can't be solved through favor trading and accommodating special interests. They can only be solved through politicians who actually understand the issue and are willing to do the obvious. If you want to cover more people and have it cost less, you have to break monopolies and come up with new plans. You can't just do old school favor trading.
Well, I think the favor trading doesn't bother me that much. Look, Louisiana has as much right to money as New York or California does. That's age old. I mean, if that happens, it's as much the problem of the body as it is the person asking for the money.
No, precisely.
The big problem is the policy. This thing has been pretty watered down right now. It's about as watered down as it can get and still be a real bill. For example, there's really no insurance reform in this bill already. I just figured this out in the last few days. Even the House bill, which is the better of the two, and the Senate bill's a decent bill, but even the House bill, you can be charged twice as much for insurance if you have a pre-existing condition. Well, that's not really guaranteed issue or community rating. So there's not a lot left in this bill. The public option is about it.
Yeah, but if you're an insurance, but let's be honest, if you're an insurance company and you can get it legalized that everybody has to buy insurance or they pay taxes, it's a pretty good deal if you're a health insurance company.
Well, that's the thing. And if they get rid of the public option, this is just a bill to give away taxpayers' money to the insurance companies, just like they did to the banks and AIG. And I think the Democratic Party goes over and just up in smoke. I think Sanders has got the right idea. You might as well kill this thing, because the people are going to be furious if it passes, if it doesn't have a public option in it.
Crap.
All right, we got a lot there to get to. First of all, if you missed it, he was threatening. And is that a threat? Yes, it is. Basically telling the Democrats, hey, listen, you're not going to get any more money to, and he said this in another interview, to the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee or the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, because they give to all the Democrats. Now, why would people continue to give money to all the Democrats if all the Democrats didn't vote for health care reform? If they kill the public option, the most important part of it. At the end there, he explains, you know, as we've done on numerous occasions, why it's so important. Because without the public option, what you have is a mandate where we have to pay the private insurance companies, and they can continue to jack up our prices. And you know what that is in the long run? Not only is it bad for us, it's an electoral disaster for the Democratic Party. They wind up passing a bill that does, in some ways, more harm than good. Then he says, then Bernie Sanders is right. Then they should kill it if it doesn't have the public option. Not because out of spite, not because of political gamesmanship, but simply because it's not a good bill. And, you know, I think there's a real interesting point to be made there, and an interesting debate to be had there. And right now, Senator Sanders, Sherrod Brown, and Roland Burris are saying, without a public option, we're not voting for it. So we're at a standstill here. We got two guys, or two sides at least, staring each other down, saying we're not going to have this bill one way or another. And so how does Harry Reid get beyond that? And what Howard Dean suggests is go to reconciliation, where you only need 51 votes, or 50 votes, and then Biden can break the tie if the administration is so inclined. But Harry Reid said from the beginning that he's not going to go to reconciliation, that he's going to try to get the 60 votes. Well, that's a perilous track. And obviously, Dean is going on the offensive here because he thinks Reid doesn't have the votes. He thinks he's not going to get those four guys to sign on with the public option. Now, the idea of not passing a bill is political suicide for everyone involved on the Democratic side. So they're going to pass a bill. The question is, what's in it? Is it worth it or is it not worth it? And the only reason why, for the first time, I think, well, I guess there is a small chance that they won't pass it, is because some, like Sanders and Roland Burris, have dug in their heels and they're saying, look, you don't get it. I don't like this bill without a public option. I think that it will increase our premiums and that there's no cost control. So I'm going to vote against it. So you think, oh, well, at least I'll get a weak, watered-down version. Everybody will pretend to be happy. It might be a bad bill, but who cares? We'll get it passed. If all you care about is politics, well, Sanders and Burris and maybe Brown are saying, no, I'm not going to let you pass that bill. Well, that's an interesting development, okay, because now we're going to war. And how that war gets resolved over the next couple of weeks is very, very interesting. So in the past, I would have said, yeah, they're going to do the nonsense trigger compromise. It's BS, it's not true, but it'll pass and it'll get watered down, and then God help us and we'll see. You know, there'll definitely be some upsides. I don't want to pretend that there are no upsides. There's definitely upsides. But then there are a lot of downsides. As Dean points out there, none of the benefits go into effect until 2014. And by that time, they're going to attack the Republicans, and some of the mandates begin before 2014. And by that time, they'll have repealed it, okay, if you liked it in the first place. So there's a lot. I mean, the only thing that barely saves it, after all of these compromises, as Sherrod Brown has talked about at the end of last week, after all of these compromises, the only thing that saves it is the public option. If it doesn't have it in there, and they don't, these four senators join the Republican filibuster, and Harry Reid won't go through reconciliation, and Barack Obama's White House won't fight, well, then we got trouble. We got real trouble.
If you like this clip, you'll love the whole show. You can watch that at theyoungturks.com.